On my 70th birthday, my daughter called to say she had a more important commitment. Hours later, she posted a photo traveling with her mother-in-law captioned, "You're the mother I wish I had. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment the city you're watching from so I can see how far my story has reached." I stared at my phone in disbelief, my 70-year-old hands trembling as I read the message again. "Sorry, Mom. Can't make it to your birthday dinner. Something important came up. Rain check? Something important. On my 70th birthday." I set the phone down on my kitchen table, next to the cake I'd baked myself. A small chocolate cake with vanilla frosting, the kind my daughter Sarah used to love when she was little. I'd even bought those fancy candles with the golden flames, thinking maybe this year would be different. Maybe this year she'd actually want to celebrate with me. The house felt enormous around me, filled with the silence of expectations that would never be met. I'd cleaned for hours, prepared all of Sarah's favorite foods, even bought a nice wine she'd mentioned liking at Wren's last dinner party. The dining room table was set for 3, me, Sarah, and little Emma, my 8-year-old granddaughter. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a notification from Instagram. Sarah had posted something new. I rarely used social media, but I'd learned to navigate it just to keep up with my family's lives. It seemed to be the only way I could see what was happening with them anymore. With shaking fingers, I opened the app. The image that filled my screen felt like a physical blow to my chest. There was Sarah, beaming at the camera, her arm wrapped around Inez, Wren's mother. They were at some upscale restaurant, wine glasses raised in a toast. Emma sat between them, grinning widely as she held up what looked like an expensive piece of jewelry. But it was the caption that truly shattered me. "Birthday celebration with the mom I wish I'd had. Thank you, Inez, for always being there. Some bonds are chosen, not born. Blessed, with the best, real family." I read it 3 times before the words fully registered. Birthday celebration. Today, my birthday. My daughter had lied to me so she could spend my birthday with another woman. Not just any woman. Wren's mother. The woman who had somehow become more important to Sarah than I ever was. I scrolled through the comments, each one twisting the knife deeper. "Inez is amazing! You're so lucky to have her! Best grandmother ever! Emma is so blessed! Found family is the best family! Found family. As if I had been lost, discarded, replaced by someone better. I thought about all the birthdays I'd celebrated alone while Sarah was busy with her new life, the Christmases where I was invited as an afterthought, arriving to find Inez already there, already settled into what felt like my place, the school plays and soccer games where I sat in the back while Inez had the front row seat next to Sarah. When had I become the outsider in my own daughter's life? I walked to my bedroom and opened the drawer where I kept my checkbook. The same checkbook I'd been using for the past 5 years to quietly support Sarah's family. The mortgage payments I made every month, so they could keep their beautiful house. The private school tuition for Emma that I covered, because it's important for her future, Mom. The credit card bills that somehow always found their way to me when things got tight. Just last month, I'd transferred $1,500 to help with Wren's car repairs. The month before that, it was $2,000 for Emma's summer camp. Before that, a vacation to Disney World that I'd funded but wasn't invited to join. I'd done it all quietly, never asking for recognition, never mentioning it to anyone. Sarah had asked me to keep it between us, saying Wren was sensitive about accepting help. I understood. Pride was important. But seeing that photo, reading those words about chosen family, I wondered if my silence had been a mistake. Had my discretion allowed them to forget where their comfortable life really came from? I looked at myself in the mirror above my dresser, 70 years old, living alone in a house that felt too big, spending my birthday looking at photos of my daughter celebrating with someone else. When had I become so invisible? My phone rang. Sarah's name appeared on the screen. "Hi, Mom." Her voice was cheerful, almost sing-song. "How was your day? Did you do anything special for your birthday?" I stared at my reflection as I answered. It was quiet. "Oh, that's nice. Sometimes quiet birthdays are the best. Listen, I can't talk long. We're at dinner with Inez. She's treating us to this amazing place downtown. Amazing place downtown. The same place I'd seen in the photo. That sounds lovely. I managed. It really is. Inez is she's incredible, Mom. She really understands what family means. Anyway, we'll definitely get together soon, okay? Love you. She hung up before I could respond. I sat on the edge of my bed, still holding the phone. She'd called to tell me about her wonderful evening with another woman on my birthday. The woman who really understands what family means. And somewhere in that moment, something inside me shifted. It wasn't anger yet. That would come later. It was something colder, quieter. It was the sound of illusions finally breaking. For 5 years, I'd been funding a life that didn't include me. For 5 years, I'd been paying for my own exclusion, my own replacement. But not anymore. The next morning, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and 5 years' worth of bank statements spread out in front of me. I'd barely slept, my mind racing with questions I'd never allowed myself to ask before. The numbers told a story I hadn't been willing to see. $2,800 monthly mortgage payment, paid automatically from my account for the past 4 years. One $200 monthly payment to Westfield Academy for Emma's tuition. Another automatic transfer I'd set up when Sarah explained how important private education was. Credit card payments ranging from $800 to $3,500 monthly, covering everything from groceries to gas, to what looked like an extensive shopping habit. Then there were the one-time transfers. $5,000 for a family vacation to Cabo last Christmas, a trip I'd only heard about through social media posts. $3,200 for new living room furniture. $2,800 for Ren's dental work. $4,500 for what the memo line called emergency home repairs. I calculated quickly in my head. Over the past 5 years, I'd given them nearly $180,000. $180,000. The amount staggered me. I'd been supporting an entire family's lifestyle while living modestly in my paid-off house, shopping sales at the grocery store, and wearing the same clothes for years because I don't need much at my age. I reached for my phone and called my bank. "Mrs. Anderson, how can I help you today?" The customer service representative's voice was artificially cheerful. "I need to review all automatic payments and transfers from my checking account," I said. "Everything going to Sarah Westbrook or Ren Westbrook?" "Certainly. Let me pull up your account." There was a pause, then keyboard clicking. "I show 7 active automatic payments to accounts associated with those names. Would you like me to read through them?" 7. I'd thought it was 3 or 4. "Yes, please." Monthly mortgage payment of $2,800 to First National Mortgage, account holder Sarah Westbrook. Monthly tuition payment of $1,200 to Westfield Academy for Emma Westbrook. Monthly payment of $450 to Visa ending in 4782. Account holder Ren Westbrook. Monthly payment of $320 to American Express ending in 1097, also Ren Westbrook. Monthly payment of $180 to Progressive Insurance for a 2021 BMW. Registered to Ren Westbrook. Monthly payment of $95 to Verizon Wireless for Family Plan. Account holder Sarah Westbrook. And a monthly transfer of $600 to a savings account under Emma Westbrook's name. My hand tightened around the phone. The insurance payment. When did that start? Let me check. That began 18 months ago. The memo line says car loan assistance. Car loan assistance. I remembered that conversation. Ren had been so upset about her car breaking down, and Sarah had called me in tears, saying they couldn't afford the payments on a reliable vehicle. I'd offered to help temporarily, just until they got back on their feet, 18 months ago. And the savings account for Emma? That's been active for 3 years. The memo line reads, college fund contribution. 3 years of building a college fund for my granddaughter. A granddaughter I saw maybe once a month, usually at uncomfortable family dinners where I felt like an intruder. After I hung up, I sat staring at the numbers. I wasn't just supporting them. I was funding their entire lifestyle. The beautiful house in the gated community, the private school education, the luxury car, the credit cards that let Ren shop without consequence. Even Emma's future was being secured by my money. And yet, I was the one who didn't understand what family meant. I thought about last month's dinner at their house. Inez had been there, naturally, holding court at the head of the table while I sat in what felt like a guest chair. She'd been praising Ren's financial responsibility. "It's so wonderful to see young people managing their money so well," Inez had said, her voice carrying that tone of maternal pride I recognized because I'd once used it myself. "Not everyone your age has such discipline." Wren had beamed under the praise, and Sarah had nodded enthusiastically. "Wren's amazing with budgets. She's taught me so much about financial planning." Financial planning, built entirely on my automatic payments. I remembered how Inez had then launched into a story about taking Emma shopping for school clothes, buying her expensive outfits that I'd seen in social media posts. "A grandmother's prerogative," she'd said with a laugh. "Spoiling my grandbaby, spoiling her with money that ultimately came from me." The irony was suffocating. I was funding the very generosity that made Inez look like the perfect grandmother while I was relegated to the sidelines. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through Sarah's Instagram again. Photo after photo of their perfect life. Wren in designer clothes at expensive restaurants. Emma at dance classes and art camps and soccer leagues that I was paying for but never invited to watch. Sarah and Wren at wine tastings and spa days and weekend getaways. All of it made possible by me. None of it, including me. There was a photo from last month, Emma's dance recital. She was beautiful in a costume that probably cost more than I spent on clothes in 6 months. The caption read, "So proud of our little star. Thank you, Grandma Inez, for always being there to cheer her on. Proud family, dance queen." I remembered that recital. I'd asked Sarah about it, offered to come watch Emma perform. "Oh, Mom, it's really small," she'd said. "Just immediate family. You'd probably be bored." Immediate family. While I paid for the costume, the lessons, probably the after-party celebration too. I closed the app and sat in the growing darkness of my kitchen. For years, I'd told myself that being generous was what good mothers did, that supporting your children financially was an act of love, even if that love wasn't returned the way you hoped. But this wasn't love. This was being used, and tomorrow, I was going to start changing that. 3 days after my birthday disaster, I was still going through financial records when Sarah called. "Mom, are you feeling okay? You haven't called to check in like you usually do." I almost laughed at the irony. I hadn't called because I was too busy discovering how thoroughly I'd been taken advantage of. "I'm fine, honey, just busy." "Oh, good. Listen, I have amazing news. Inez surprised us with a weekend trip to Napa Valley. She booked this incredible resort and spa. Wren's been so stressed with work lately, and Inez thought it would be perfect for some mother-daughter bonding time." Mother-daughter bonding. The word stung, but I kept my voice neutral. "That sounds lovely." "It really is. She's so generous, Mom. She just thinks of everything. The resort has this amazing spa, and she's treating Wren to the full package. Massages, facials, the works. She even bought Wren this gorgeous new outfit for dinner at the resort restaurant. I don't know what we did to deserve someone so thoughtful in our lives." I gripped the phone tighter. How wonderful that she can afford to be so generous. I know, right? She has such a big heart. And she loves Wren like her own daughter. Sometimes I think Wren is closer to Inez than she is to her own mother. After Sarah hung up, I sat staring at my credit card statements. Specifically at Wren's credit card statements that I'd been paying for 3 years. There it was, Nordstrom 2 days ago, $847, Sephora, the same day, $312, and yesterday, a charge to something called Luxury Travel Concierge for $200. I grabbed my laptop and Googled the company. They specialized in enhancing your travel experience with premium upgrades and exclusive packages. Wren had used my credit card to pay for upgrades to Inez's generous gift, the spa treatment Sarah was praising, the special dinner outfit. I was funding it all. Inez was getting credit for generosity she could afford because I was paying Wren's bills. The pattern was suddenly, sickeningly clear. I spent the next hour going through months of credit card charges, cross-referencing them with Sarah's social media posts. Every generous gesture Inez made for the family corresponded with charges on my cards. The expensive birthday dinner for Emma's 8th birthday, where Inez was praised for spoiling her granddaughter. Wren had charged the dress, shoes, and gift to my card the day before. The surprise weekend trip to Disney World that Inez had spontaneously planned, Wren had used my card to book their flights and hotel upgrades. Even the recent family photos where everyone looked so perfectly dressed, I was paying for the outfits that made them look successful enough to deserve Inez's largesse. I was funding my own replacement. My hands shook as I reached for my phone and called Ren directly. She answered on the third ring, her voice bright and cheerful. "Hi, Wanda. How are you?" "I'm well, dear. I was just wondering, how was your weekend trip to Napa?" "Oh my gosh, it was incredible. Inez is just amazing. She booked us into this resort that was like something out of a magazine. The spa was heavenly and the food." She went on for 5 minutes about every detail of the trip Inez had generously provided. "It sounds expensive," I said carefully. "That's what makes it so special. Inez just wanted to treat us, you know? She said we deserved to be pampered. She's always thinking about what would make us happy. It's such a blessing to have someone like that in our lives." "And how are things financially? I know you mentioned work being stressful." "Oh, things are great. I mean, you know how it is. Expenses here and there. But we're managing really well. Inez always says she's proud of how responsible we are with money. She sees how we never overspend or ask for help, and I think that's part of why she's so generous with us. Never overspend. Never ask for help." "That's wonderful," I managed. "Well, I should let you go." "Okay. Oh, but before you hang up, I meant to ask if you could help us with something small. Emma's school is doing this fundraiser, and we want to make a good impression with the other parents. It's only $500 for the sponsorship level we want. Only $500 for a good impression, after a weekend trip that cost thousands. I'll think about it," I said. After I hung up, I walked to my bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror, really looked. I saw a 70-year-old woman who had been sleepwalking through her own financial destruction. A woman who had been so desperate to feel needed, to feel loved, that she'd allowed herself to be turned into a silent ATM. Ren wasn't just using my money. She was using it strategically, carefully, to create a version of herself that would be worthy of Inez's attention and praise. Every charge on my cards was an investment in the relationship that was replacing me. The beautiful irony was that Inez admired Ren's financial independence and responsibility, traits that only existed because I was secretly funding them. Ren could afford to never ask Inez for money because she had me. She could afford to be generous and grateful because I was covering the cost of her gratitude. I was paying for my daughter to love someone else. I walked back to my kitchen table, where all the evidence of my exploitation lay spread out like a roadmap of my own stupidity. For 5 years, I'd been the invisible foundation that allowed their perfect life to exist. And in return, I'd been systematically excluded from that life. But they'd made one critical mistake. They'd forgotten that foundations can crumble. And when they do, everything built on top of them falls down. Tomorrow, I was going to start removing the foundation. I spent the weekend making lists. Not grocery lists or to-do lists, but lists of every automatic payment, every credit card, every way my money flowed into their lives. The scope of it was breathtaking. Beyond the obvious payments, there were dozens of smaller ones I'd forgotten about. Netflix, Spotify, even their Amazon Prime membership, all charged to my cards because Ren had mentioned how expensive streaming services were getting. Emma's gymnastics classes, art supplies, even her lunch money at school was automatically debited from my account. I was funding every aspect of their comfortable existence. Monday morning, I called my bank again. "I need to cancel all automatic payments and remove all authorized users from my accounts," I told the representative. "That's quite a few transactions, Mrs. Anderson. Are you sure you want to cancel everything? Some of these have been active for years, I'm sure." "All right. For security purposes, I'll need to verify some information." It took 45 minutes to systematically dismantle 5 years of financial entanglement. Each canceled payment felt like cutting a rope that had been slowly strangling me. "Just to confirm," the representative said, "you're canceling 7 automatic payments, removing 2 authorized users from 3 credit cards, and closing 1 joint savings account. Is that correct?" "Correct. Is there anything else I can help you with today?" "Yes. I'd like to change my phone number on file and update my privacy settings so no account information can be shared with anyone." After I hung up, I sat in the silence of my kitchen, waiting to feel guilty, waiting for the voice in my head that usually whispered about being a good mother. a supportive grandmother, a woman who put family first. The voice never came. Instead, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: relief. The first sign that they'd noticed came Tuesday afternoon. Ren called, her voice tight with confusion. "Wanda, I think there might be some kind of mistake with our cards. The one you gave me for emergencies was declined at the grocery store today." I could have told her it wasn't a mistake. Instead, I said, "Oh my, how strange. Have you called the bank?" "I tried, but they said the account was closed." "But that can't be right, can it? I mean, you wouldn't close it without telling us." "I've been reviewing my finances lately," I said carefully, "making some changes." There was a long pause. "What kind of changes?" "Just simplifying things. At my age, it's important to be more careful with money. But Wanda, we depend on— Emma's school payment is due tomorrow, and the mortgage— Sarah said you handle those automatically." "I did handle them. For a long time." Another pause, longer this time. "Are you saying you're not going to help us anymore?" The word help almost made me laugh. Help implied that they'd asked, that there was some reciprocal relationship, some gratitude involved. "I'm saying I'm going to be more thoughtful about my spending," I replied. "But Emma's school— I'm sure you and Sarah will figure it out. You're both very capable." After I hung up, I waited. It didn't take long. Sarah called within an hour, her voice higher than usual. "Mom, Ren said you canceled some payments. There must be some mistake." "No mistake, honey. But why? Is something wrong? Are you having money problems?" "Money problems. After giving them nearly $200,000 over 5 years. I'm fine financially. I'm just making some adjustments to my budget." "Adjustments? Mom, we're talking about Emma's education, our house payment. These aren't things you just adjust." "Actually, Sarah, they are. They're my adjustments to make." "I don't understand." "You've never minded helping before. You said family was important, that you wanted to help secure Emma's future." She was right. I had said those things, but that was when I thought I was investing in relationships, not funding my own exclusion. "Things change," I said simply. "Mom, please, if this is about my birthday, I told you we could do something together soon. Inez just happened to invite us out, and this isn't about your birthday." "Then what? What did we do wrong?" The question hung in the air between us. What had they done wrong? Everything and nothing. They'd accepted my money gratefully while systematically pushing me out of their lives. They'd used my generosity to build relationships with other people while treating me like an obligation. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I said, "You didn't do anything wrong, Sarah. I'm just choosing to spend my money differently." "Differently how?" "On myself." The silence that followed was deafening. "On yourself?" Sarah's voice was sharp now. "Mom, you barely spend anything on yourself. You live in that same house, drive that same old car, wear the same clothes for years. What could you possibly need money for?" And there it was, the assumption that had been underlying everything for years. That I didn't need anything. That I didn't want anything. That my purpose was to provide for them while asking for nothing in return. "Maybe I want to find out," I said. "Find out what?" "What it feels like to matter in my own life." I hung up before she could respond. Wednesday brought desperation. Both Sarah and Ren called multiple times. I let the calls go to voicemail. "Mom, please call me back. We need to talk about this. Emma's school is asking about the tuition payment. Wanda, I don't understand what's happening. Can we please sit down and discuss this like family?" Thursday, the calls became angry. "Mom, this is ridiculous. You can't just cut us off without warning. We made commitments based on your help. Wanda, this isn't fair. You know we can't afford these payments on our own." Sarah's beside herself with worry. Friday brought panic. "Mom, the bank called about the mortgage. Please, we can work this out. Just call me back." "Wanda, please. Emma doesn't understand why she might have to change schools. How do I explain this to an 8-year-old? I listened to each voicemail once, then deleted it. Each message revealed more about how they really saw me. Not as a mother or grandmother, but as a resource to be managed. None of them asked if I was okay. None of them wondered if something was wrong in my life. They only cared about the money stopping. Saturday morning, I drove to the bank and opened a new checking account. Then I went to a travel agency I'd passed 1,000 times but never entered. I'd like to plan a trip, I told the agent, a young woman with kind eyes and an encouraging smile. Wonderful! Where would you like to go? I thought about all the places I'd helped fund for other people. Napa Valley, Disney World, Cabo, all trips I'd paid for but wasn't invited to join. Somewhere I've never been, I said. Somewhere beautiful. And expensive. The agent smiled wider. Now that sounds like the best kind of adventure. For the first time in 5 years, I was going to spend my money on creating memories for myself, not paying for someone else's perfect life that didn't include me. By the second week, the real panic set in. I was sitting in my garden, reading a travel brochure about Scotland when Sarah's car pulled into my driveway. Through the window, I could see her frantically dialing her phone, probably calling Ren to announce her arrival. I didn't get up. Let her come to me. The doorbell rang 3 times before I answered. Sarah stood on my porch looking haggard, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, her eyes red-rimmed. Mom, thank God, we need to talk. Hello, Sarah, come in. She followed me to the living room, where my travel brochures were spread across the coffee table. Her eyes landed on them immediately. Are you planning a trip? I am. Where? Scotland, maybe Ireland after that. I haven't decided yet. She stared at the brochures like they were evidence of some crime. Mom, we can't afford the house payment this month. The mortgage company called yesterday. I'm sorry to hear that. You're sorry? Her voice cracked. Mom, we could lose our house. I sat down in my favorite chair, the one I'd bought for myself last week, a comfortable recliner in soft blue fabric. It was the first piece of furniture I'd purchased in 20 years. That would be unfortunate, I said. Unfortunate? Sarah's eyes widened. Mom, what's happening to you? This isn't like you at all. How would you know what I'm like? When was the last time you asked? What do you mean? When was the last time you called to see how I was doing? Not to ask for something, not to tell me about your wonderful life with Inez, but to actually check on me? Sarah opened her mouth, then closed it. We both knew the answer. Mom, you know we care about you. But right now, we're in crisis mode. Emma might have to leave her school. Ren is having panic attacks about the mortgage. We need your help. You need my money. It's the same thing. No, Sarah, it isn't. I watched her pace around my living room, her movements sharp and agitated. This was the most attention she'd paid to me in years, and it was only because the money had stopped flowing. I don't understand what we did to deserve this, she said, tears starting to fall. We've always been grateful for your help. Have you? Of course. We tell you thank you all the time. Do you? When? When you're posting pictures of Inez buying Emma expensive gifts with money that ultimately comes from me. When you're praising Ren's financial responsibility while I pay her credit card bills. When you're celebrating how generous Inez is with trips I'm actually funding. Sarah stopped pacing. What are you talking about? I reached for a folder I'd prepared, filled with credit card statements and bank records. Ren's shopping trip before your Napa weekend, charged to my card. Emma's dance costume and lessons, my automatic payments. Even the dinner where Inez was praised for being so generous. Ren used my credit card for her outfit that night. Sarah's face went pale as she flipped through the papers. I've been funding my own replacement for 5 years, I continued, paying for Inez to look like the perfect grandmother while I was pushed to the sidelines. Mom, Ren didn't mean what? To use my money to buy Inez's approval? To create a life so comfortable that you didn't need me for anything except paying bills? That's not how it was. Then how was it? Sarah, explain to me how I fit into your family beyond being a source of income. She couldn't answer. We both knew she couldn't. The school fundraiser, I said quietly. The one where you wanted to make a good impression with the other parents. $500. After spending thousands on a weekend trip. Do you know what that told me? Sarah shook her head. It told me that you thought I was stupid, that I wouldn't notice, that I would just keep paying and paying while you built relationships with everyone except me. Mom, please, we can fix this. We can include you more. No, The word hung in the air between us. No, Sarah, you can't fix 5 years of making me feel like an outsider in my own family. You can't fix the fact that my granddaughter barely knows me because you've made Inez the important grandmother. You can't fix birthday dinners where I'm an afterthought and Instagram posts that celebrate everyone except the person who makes it all possible. So what are you saying? You're just going to abandon us? I'm saying I'm going to live my life. For me. Finally. Sarah sank onto my couch, crying harder now. What about Emma? You're punishing her for our mistakes. Emma will be fine. Children are resilient. But more importantly, she'll learn what real relationships look like instead of growing up thinking love can be bought. We do love you, Mom. Do you? Or do you love what I provide? She couldn't answer that either. After Sarah left, I called the travel agent and booked my trip to Scotland. 3 weeks, staying in castle hotels and bed and breakfasts I'd only dreamed about visiting. The total cost was more than I'd spent on myself in the past 5 years combined. That evening, Ren called. Wanda, please. Sarah told me what you said, but you have to understand, we never meant to make you feel left out. Inez is she's very involved. And sometimes it feels like we have to choose sides. You did choose sides. But we can fix this. We can set boundaries with Inez. We can make sure you're included in everything. Please, just give us another chance. Ren, I gave you 5 years of chances. I gave you nearly $200,000 worth of chances. I'm done giving. 200,000? Her voice was barely a whisper. Did you think it was less? Did you think the money just appeared magically? We always planned to pay you back someday. When? When you got on your feet? You've been on your feet for years, Ren. You just preferred my feet to be underneath you, holding you up. She was crying now, too. What can we do? How can we make this right? You can learn to live within your means. You can learn what it feels like to be responsible for your own choices. And maybe, if you're very lucky, you can learn what it means to value people for more than what they can give you. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow I was going shopping for Scotland. I needed warm clothes, good walking shoes, and a new suitcase. For the first time in years, I was going to spend money on something that would make me happy. And I wasn't going to feel guilty about it. I returned from Scotland 3 weeks later, with a suitcase full of souvenirs I'd bought for myself and a heart fuller than it had been in years. I'd hiked through the Highlands, toured ancient castles, and sat by myself in cozy pub corners, reading books and watching the world go by without worrying about anyone else's needs or demands. For the first time in decades, I'd lived entirely for my own pleasure. The house felt different when I walked in, lighter somehow, as if removing the weight of constant giving had changed the very air inside. My answering machine blinked with 17 messages, but I ignored it and made myself a cup of tea instead. Scotland had taught me the value of taking things slowly. When I finally listened to the messages, to the ER, they painted a picture of escalating crisis. Sarah's voice grew more strained with each call. Ren's went from apologetic to desperate to angry and back to pleading. Mom, Emma had to leave Westfield. We couldn't make the tuition payment. Wanda, we're 2 months behind on the mortgage now. The bank is starting foreclosure proceedings. Mom, Inez offered to help with some of the payments, but Ren was too proud to accept. She says she doesn't want to be a burden. That last message made me pause. Too proud to accept help from Inez, but not too proud to take it from me for 5 years without acknowledgement. The final message was from yesterday. Mom, please call me back. We need to talk. Something happened with Inez and just please call me. Something in Sarah's voice made me pick up the phone. She answered on the first ring. Mom, thank God. Are you back from your trip? I am. What happened with Inez? Can you come over, please? I need to talk to you in person. An hour later, I sat in the kitchen of the house I'd been paying for, watching Sarah make coffee with shaking hands. The house looked different too, less pristine, more lived in. There were dishes in the sink and mail piled on the counter. The perfect facade was cracking. Inez found out, Sarah said without preamble. Found out what? About the money. About you paying for everything. Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper. Ren told her. She thought maybe Inez would understand. would help us figure out a solution. I waited. She was horrified, Mom. Not at us, at the situation. She said she had no idea that her generosity was being built on someone else's sacrifice. She felt terrible that she'd been taking credit for things you were actually paying for. I sipped my coffee, letting Sarah continue. She said she couldn't be part of what she called financial deception anymore. She said it wasn't fair to you, and it wasn't honest. She stepped back from us. Stepped back how? She canceled Emma's birthday party that she was planning. She returned the Christmas presents she'd already bought. She said she couldn't accept gratitude for generosity that wasn't really hers. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She said it would be wrong to continue the relationship knowing what she knew. The irony was exquisite. Inez, the woman who'd replaced me in my daughter's affections, had more integrity than my own family. Emma's been asking where Grandma Inez went, Sarah continued. I don't know what to tell her. And Ren is devastated. She says Inez was the closest thing to a real mother she ever had. And now you understand why I stepped away too. Sarah nodded miserably. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't see it. I didn't see how we were using you. I thought we were just accepting your help gratefully, while making sure I knew I wasn't really wanted. We didn't mean. She stopped, then started again. You're right. We did make you feel unwanted. We took your money and gave our attention to someone else. We treated you like a bank instead of a mother. It was the first real acknowledgement I'd received in 5 years. What happens now? I asked. I don't know. We're going to lose the house. Emma's already at the public school, which is actually fine. She's making friends there. Ren got a second job. We're selling her BMW and buying something used. Sarah looked around the kitchen. We're learning to live on what we actually make. How does that feel? Scary, but also honest? For the first time in years, when someone compliments us on something, we know we actually earned it. We sat in silence for a while, drinking coffee in the kitchen I'd helped them afford. Mom, I know I don't have the right to ask this, but is there any chance we could start over? Not financially, she added quickly. I mean relationally. Could we try to build something real? I thought about Scotland, about the peace I'd found in living for myself, about the travel brochures still spread on my coffee table and the plans I'd made for Ireland in the spring. I don't know, I said honestly. It would have to be different. How? You'd have to actually want me there, not just when you need something, not just because you feel obligated, but because you genuinely enjoy my company. I do enjoy your company. Mom, I forgot how to show it. Then you'll have to learn again, and it might take time. Sarah nodded. I understand. And Mom? Your trip to Scotland. How was it? I smiled, remembering the castles and the countryside, the freedom of traveling where I wanted when I wanted. It was wonderful. I'm planning another trip in the spring. That's amazing. I'd love to hear about it sometime, if you want to share, if I wanted to share. Not because she needed something from me, but because she was interested in my life. It was a start. 6 months later, I was preparing for my trip to Ireland when Sarah called, not to ask for money or help, but to tell me that Emma had won a writing contest at her new school. She wrote a story about a grandmother who goes on adventures, Sarah said. She wants to read it to you when you get back from Ireland. I'd like that. Mom? Thank you. For what? For showing us what self-respect looks like, and for giving us the chance to earn your love instead of just expecting it. After I hung up, I looked around my house, where I made decisions based on what I wanted, not what others needed from me. The Ireland brochures were spread on my table next to photos from Scotland and tentative plans for Italy in the fall. I'd lost a family that only valued me for my money. But I'd found something much better. Myself. And for the first time in my 70 years, that was enough. Now I'm curious about you who listened to my story. What would you do if you were in my place? Have you ever been through something similar? Comment below, and meanwhile I'm leaving on the final screen 2 other stories that are channel favorites, and they will definitely surprise you. Thank you for watching until here.